Testing, 1, 2.
We're good. We got the best AV guy ever. You want to say? Okay, go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Well,
Oh, your mic's not on.
Here, you want to use this one?
it's on.
You want to use this one?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Hill Center. My name is Scott St. Ange. I'm the development director. It's great to see so many supporters and future supporters here joining us this evening. But we're thrilled to host another important debate for our city and proud of our partnership with the Hill Rag, who really is a community treasure. So thank you for the work you do, Andrew, and I'll turn it over to you.
I'm Andrew Lightman, managing editor of the Hill Rag. I've been at the Hill Rag now for 20 years. I organize this, and I welcome all of you. And I would say the Hill Rag is now 50 years old, so go pick it up. You will find bios of all these candidates on the Rag that you can read, as well as issue-related pieces. So I would urge you to do that. Now, I'm going to ask you a couple of things as the audience. We are very tightly scheduled tonight because there are so many candidates, so we will not be picking up audience questions tonight. Saturday, we have another forum. You're welcome to ask questions there. It's going to be a little bit more free-form. Tonight will not be. The other thing is, please hold your applause because it interrupts things, and we're trying to keep it moving so we can get the candidates to give you as much time as possible and speak as much as possible. And if you applaud, then you take away from their time, and we want to be out of here at 9. We've got a hard stop then. And I would like to introduce the wonderful Sam Ford, who is a Hill Rag reader, Capitol Hill neighbor, and one of the most esteemed and wonderful journalists in DC, or I should say retired journalists. And I'll hold it, I'm going to hand it to him.
Okay, I think I've got one here. Okay, well, it's certainly good to be here at another forum. I guess we were here 4 years ago, as I recall. And I think it was 4, but anyway, as then, we are, I worked for 36 years for WJLA, and they are also going to be live streaming this on their Facebook tonight, as well as the Hill Rag. So a lot of folks here. Before I get started, I want to make one announcement, and here's Tommy Wells.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, everybody. As many of you know, I'm the chair of Janice Lewis George's campaign, and I just got a call that she's had a family emergency. So she will not be here. She'll go to the Saturday event. It's the Ward 6 event that Andrew can tell you more about. But I just wanted to let you know that I just got that call. And this is, you're one of my favorite groups ever in the city, and I am disappointed for her, too, to not get to meet you in this forum. So with that, I'm going to get y'all moving again, and I know that I know what it feels like to be up there, and so good luck, everyone.
Okay, so here's how it's going to work. Each candidate will get... No, basically, I need the glasses, period. But why don't you go ahead and read it?
These are the rules of the day. It's pretty simple, and I'll take my glasses off so I can read. What's that?
Microphone.
All right. So, keep to your time limits. If you mention another candidate, Sam's going to give them a 30-second rebuttal. 2-minute intro, 1-minute close, and we have 10 questions, right? And we will do a lightning round, too, of another 10 questions. Actually, I have 8 questions. I think Sam has 1.
Okay, I've got a mic here.
Somebody take this back.
Okay, so I'd like to thank all the candidates for coming, and everybody gets 2 minutes to open. Why don't we start here with Mr. Johnson?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ward 6. My name is Ernest Johnson. I am delighted to be here. And thank you so much, Andrew Lightman, for putting this together. Andrew has published a number of my editorials on the RFK redevelopment, a number of other things in the city that we're all concerned about. I am a native Washingtonian, 3rd generation. I am a Harvard educated leader with a Bachelor's of Science in Mathematics from the University of Maryland. I was fortunate enough to begin my career in public service co-managing Marion Burry's first mayoral campaign, along with Ivanhoe Donaldson and Delano Lewis. So I have a certain amount of compassion for issues dealing with the District of Columbia. Tonight I want to talk about some things that directly impacts all of us. The high utility bills, how we got there, the Public Service Commission's resignations that I'm calling for as a result of that, a $2 billion lead pipe replacement program that is a backdoor rate increase for all of you, a rate increase that I'm going to revoke once I become mayor, $500 million grant program from EPA pilot. We need lead pipe replacement. We do not need our taxpayers paying for it. The RFK redevelopment is a $1.3 billion giveaway, going to hire the law firm of Arlen Porter to renegotiate that. You're going to own 26% of the team. You're going to have tag-along rights. If the team is ever sold in the future, you will get 26% of the value of that team. It's important to understand about our public safety, the issues that we're dealing with. Today, I'm sure all of you heard 19 officers were either suspended or terminated for fixing some crime stats. And so we're going to kind of dig directly into that this evening. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to talking to all of you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Johnson. And if y'all need a notary public, I understand you're a notary public, so
Notary public as well.
you have to run around looking for one. You don't. Here he is.
That's right. D.C., Maryland, and Virginia.
And now Ms. Solomon, who just told me that my son and her, you know, I'm an old man now, but they were kids. They went to school together at Holy Trinity.
Did. So with that, my name's Hope Solomon, born and raised in Washington, D.C., and here's proof that I went to school with Sam's son, Murray. So I'm Washingtonian, a proud product of the D.C. public schools. I stayed and went to Georgetown University for undergrad and graduate, and then I got a second master's at Harvard University. For 17 years of my career, this past July I was doged by Elon Musk, but before that I was working at DOD, FBI, and most recently Homeland Security, leading teams, working with executives through the federal government. But what I'm most proud of is being raised in my family's small business that my parents started in DC in 1977. And when you run a small business, you get to know how the city works. You get to know where it works and where it fails and what needs to be improved. And the reason that I'm running is because I keep thinking of this question: is DC working for me? Is it working for you as residents? And I thought, all right, I'm gonna get the signatures and I'm gonna get on the ballot, and I'm proud to say this is a grassroots campaign. I see a friendly face. We have not paid anyone on our team. I'm proud to say that, yes, this is grassroots, $6,000, and you can get on this stage and run for mayor, and I'm really proud of that, because when I decided to take private money and not take the fair elections, I didn't want to take tax money to run my campaign, and I think that's really important. So here we are running for mayor, and I'm just like you. This is what it looks like when someone sitting there 4 months ago decides to run for mayor, and I'm on this stage with all these wonderful candidates, and I look forward to tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. And next, Councilmember Kenyon McDuffie.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Hirag, and thank you to everybody who's here this evening. I think you all know how high the stakes are in this election, and that's why you all have taken the time to join us for this important conversation. My name's Kenyon McDuffie, and I'm running for mayor of Washington, D.C. I'm a native Washingtonian, graduate of D.C. public schools, somebody who didn't go to college right away. I worked carrying mail. I saved up. I went to UDC, transferred to Howard University, became the first man in my family to graduate from college. From there, I worked for our warrior on the Hill and your neighbor in Capitol Hill, Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton, where I learned how to fight and deliver for DC. I learned how to fight to protect our home rule and advocate for statehood for Washington, DC. And from there, I went and became a prosecutor, fighting crime, delivering justice for victims, and then worked in the Civil Rights Division in President Obama's Justice Department, traveling the country, fighting to protect people's civil rights. And then I spent more than a decade fighting for you as a member of the Council of the District of Columbia. I'm running for mayor because I want to fight and deliver for all DC. That means all 700,000 of our residents across all 8 wards where we don't leave anyone behind. I'm running to make this city more affordable, more opportunity rich for the people who haven't seen opportunity, and to deliver a city and a government that's accountable to you, making sure that we keep this city safe in your communities and in your homes, that we deliver the investments in education and quality schools across this city, and making sure that we are creating the jobs to connect our displaced federal workers, as well as our young folks who are starving for career pathways into the workforce. I'm Kenya McDuffie. I've done this work. I'm not running on rhetoric. I'm running on experience and a desire to make this city work better for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. And as I told you earlier, that Channel 7 is also live streaming this. And if Steve Rudin is there, if you have any openings, assuming this doesn't work out, hopefully it will, but if it doesn't work out, our next guest would make a perfect addition to the meteorology department at Channel 7, Mr. Goodweather.
Who doesn't want good weather? Thank you. That was a fantastic introduction. I am Gary Goodweather. First of all, I'm the first candidate in DC's history to qualify for the Fair Elections Program, public financing at the mayor level, having never held public office. And we did it by a lot of us just going and me walking the streets, because for people that want real change. I've spent my life in Washington, D.C. I built my life in Washington, D.C. I met my wife here in this city. Both of our kids were born and raised in this city. I've helped build communities and created jobs. And I, as a former Army officer, know how to get results from soldiers and how to lead teams to get results. And that is what Washington, D.C. needs now. We need results. And we need a city that supports its residents and supports its businesses. We need better educational outcomes. We spend more per student than any jurisdiction in the country, with some of the worst long-term outcomes. We will increase funding. We will hire more mental health professionals, social workers, special educators, and focus on the results that matter. And the results that matter, as I've come to learn, comes from the educators themselves, from the people that are doing the work, telling me what the results are that matter. We need a more safe city, we are going to aggressively hire more police officers in our city that can live in the city, afford to live in the city, and give them the best possible training. They deserve to be able to raise their kids in the city the same as with my kids and your kids. Finally, I'm going to create the Capitol Corps, a citywide civic organization that will provide education, training, and mentorship for our residents. It will be a generation-defining organization that will transform our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And next we have a council member, or former council member, Vincent Orange. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Vincent Orange. I am a former Ward 5 council member, at-large council member, and the former Democratic National Committee man. I am an attorney and a certified public accountant. I possess a Master of Laws in Taxation from Georgetown, my law degree from Howard, and business administration and communications degrees from the University of the Pacific. I'm running because I believe that we need leadership that has institutional knowledge. I was here in 1999. I came onto the council when Mayor Williams was here and Sharon Ambrose, and we had to dig ourselves out of a hole. We had lost control of the city. The control board was running the city. We had junk bond status. We were scared of Y2K, and we didn't know what was going on. But we came together, and we created a plan called the Economic Resurgence of Washington, D.C. Citizens Plan for Prosperity, 40 action items. We executed those items, and we got rid of the control board. We balanced our budget for 4 straight years. We went from junk bond status to AAA bond status. We went from a mayor that had no powers to all powers being restored. But also, we were wise because while the nation was going through a recession, we took advantage of it because we were here in the DMV with the federal government and everyone had jobs. And that's when all our cranes went up. We started changing things around. I'm not Benjamin Banneker, but I did change the plan, the comprehensive plan for the rebirth of Union Market. Doug Jamal pushed me to get on the NOMA district creation by becoming the co-chairperson of the new metro station at that location. And I am the one that is credited for jumpstarting economic development, school modernization, recreation. I also brought the minimum wage, and I also created the DC Emancipation Holiday, which has been going on for 26 years. My name is Vincent Orange. I'm number 7 on the ballot, but I want to be number 1 in your heart and heavily 7 on the ballot come June 16, 2026. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Orange. And finally, we have Rennie Sampath. Oh, is there something? No, because there's nobody else down there.
Just my notebook. Well, good evening, everybody. It's great to see you. I know you could be anywhere in the world right now on a Tuesday evening, but you're here on Cinco de Mayo here, and we really appreciate it. My name is Rennie Sampath, and I moved to the United States when I was 7 years old with my family in pursuit of the American dream. And unfortunately, here in DC, I believe the American dream doesn't work for everybody. And that's one of the reasons why I got into this race. I got into this race because we need to actually fix the basics in DC. DC government is fundamentally broken. We know this from a variety of statistics and anecdotes and stories from our own communities. For one, we have 3 times the national average for youth incarceration in the city. 2, we know that it takes 13 months on average to fill 1 affordable housing unit in our city. In my neighborhood, it took 3 years for us to fix a non-ADA compliant sidewalk by an ANC commissioner. And 3rd or 4th now, I have to share that just in general, looking around at the city, our 311, 911 systems are failing. Just in general, the administrative and operational abilities of the DC government are fundamentally lacking. I'm a director at a cyber company. I'm not a career politician. And I believe the role of the mayor is that of an administrative and operational role. And that's the type of candidate and the person that we need in office ultimately. So I told you earlier, I moved to the U.S. as a 7-year-old. I have a grandmother with a 1st grade education, a grandfather with a 7th grade education. I'm now actually the first South Asian in DC mayoral history to make the ballot, which is very exciting. And this is the type of opportunity I want for every single resident in our community. I'm looking forward to spending this time with you over the next 2 hours, learning more about what issues affect your community the most here, and hopefully sharing with you the innovative solutions, the creativity that my community is bringing to the table. We revised the 311 app on our site. We've built an entirely new tax dashboard. We just launched a small business permitting concierge, and I'm excited to share more with you. Thank you.
Okay, so we have met the candidates who are here tonight. I have a question for you. How many of you are concerned about the future of home rule in DC? Okay, how many of you are not concerned about the future of home rule in DC? Okay, so some people just didn't feel like raising their hands.
I'd like to hear from them if they're not.
Well, it's Republicans have talked about getting rid of home rule in D.C., and of course, all of these candidates, of course, are opposed to that. They want to keep home rule, which is we've had here. And what I'd like to do is start down at that end with the Sampath, and ask the candidates a question, and you have a minute, I think, to respond. Is that correct? A minute, okay. A minute to respond. What one thing are you going to do? You can get in Trump's face and say, yan, that ain't going to help. In fact, it might hurt. So what concrete, serious, one thing will you do to preserve home rule, assuming that's a threat, a real threat, and something that could actually happen? Yes.
Well, I think the first thing is I think the Bowser administration should have never ceded any authority to the current administration. Unfortunately, Mayor Bowser gave an inch, and obviously you're going to take more and more and more from DC. And so that's the first thing. I think negotiating with this administration in that way is not a favorable place to be. So a concrete step that I would take is advancing statehood. Obviously, statehood is going to be an incremental journey, but the thing about statehood is that it will allow us to have control over our own resources, our own tax money, the $680 million that was decoupled that by elected representatives, unelected by us. So these are the types of issues that I want to make sure we focus on by building a strong coalition, by making sure the Democratic senators are also fully bought in, because we know not the entire Democratic Party is bought into statehood for DC, and we need to push that forward by engaging influencers, congressional representatives, and other party players to make sure that's on the page.
Mr. Orange. Mr. Orange. Well, I would say, in the words of John F. Kennedy, I will not negotiate in fear, nor will I fear to negotiate. I will make it very clear what is non-negotiable. Home rule is non-negotiable. DC autonomy is non-negotiable. And the pursuit of statehood is non-negotiable. But I do understand that there is Article 1, Section 8 in the Constitution that gives Congress oversight over the district. But within that realm, we can discuss what's going on in the District of Columbia. I want to know about the $10 billion he says he wants to give to DC. I'm going to go check it out. And I also want to say that I think Mayor Bowser did an excellent job in preserving home rule. She did what she had to do under the circumstances. And I think we should applaud her for that. All of us may have done something differently, but she's leaving us with home rule, and it's our job to protect home rule. And the two times that we had an opportunity at statehood, it was the Democrats that let us down. The last time, well, I see my time is up, but hopefully I'll get to tell you about that. But it's twice Democrats let us down on getting statehood. Mr. Goodweather.
Let me be clear. Appeasement doesn't work. We have seen that story throughout history, and that is not what's going to happen in Washington, D.C. The single biggest thing that I can do is run a government that lifts every D.C. resident up. Create a government that is so effective that we do not give an excuse to the Trump administration to come in and take away more of our rights. That starts with our budget. Under the Home Rule Act, and when we got, if we breach what's called any of the 7 deadly sins in Washington, D.C. under the Home Rule Act, number one, our financial covenants. If we do not have a balanced budget, if we do not pay all of our debts, then that automatically brings back a financial control board. Trump gets to oversee appoint the overseers, and that is just the next step to him being able to take over our city. We're going to have a strong budget, number one. Number two, we are going to gain control, and ultimately we'll have the ability to completely get a congressional review out, and we are going to get control back of our courts.
Thank you. Councilmember McDuffie.
I'm going to be crystal clear. I'm going to use every single tool at the mayor's disposal to fight and protect our home rule. I'm going to make sure that we have a more collaborative relationship with the Office of the Attorney General. We're going to invest in the mayor's office of legal counsel and litigate using the Constitution of the United States and the Home Rule Charter where necessary. In short, I'm going to work with the federal government where possible, but I'm going to fight back where necessary, making sure that we're working with our delegate and the council and the OAG's office so that we are a unified front as a one District of Columbia government to advocate for statehood and to protect our home rule. We're not going to let anybody from outside of this city, whether it's Trump or anyone else, threaten our home rule without a fight.
Ms. Sullivan.
Can I borrow this, Ernest?
Yes.
Okay, so when I think of obviously balanced budget, we've heard about that, but you asked the first thing, and it is getting our house in order, and my head goes to public safety. We need to fund our police department. We need ICE and HSI agents out of our hair. And that is with a balanced budget, and we prioritize public safety. We get the federal government off our backs and show that we have a mature adult in the mayor's office. That would be my #1 priority with this administration.
Mr. Johnson.
Thank you so much. Let me just land this plane a little bit where you can really relate to some things that are really going on. Because it's easy to theoretically talk about what you would say to President Trump when you'll probably never meet him. So let's talk about what you can do. Your utility rates are up because the Public Service Commission erroneously gave the public PEPCO rate increases. The Court of Appeals have ruled that they have to provide refunds. I have called for the resignation of the Public Service Commissioners. I'm asking all of my colleagues on this stage to do likewise. Public Service Commission is designed to protect the consumers, not to advocate for utility companies. Now, you will notice, see how many people join in. If you won't confront a commissioner, don't talk about what you would do to the President of the United States.
I'm going to let you stand there and talk. You got another minute to talk about that, because our next question is, name one action you will take to lower utility costs.
The first thing, thank you, Sam. I appreciate it. I've been knowing Sam for 20 years, too. So, but we have to, when we appoint people to these positions, and, you know, I just really want to say it's important that we know who we are appointing. We are not to appoint utility lobbyists to the Public Service Commission. That's like putting a hen house in the chicken coop. Okay, you already know this from these people's background. You need consumer protection people, advocates, appointed to these positions. And this is why we're in the position that we're in now. And we have some wonderful stories about young men and women who grew up in our community, went on to become lawyers, had some prestigious jobs and outstanding, but somewhere along the way, their priorities began to not match the residents that they represent. That's what I'm here to inform you. You need a mayor with courage, institutional knowledge, the ability to stand up for you on all fronts and not be bought by special interest lobbyists or developers.
Okay.
You got another one for me?
No, you sit down. You can sit. You got to rest for a while. Ms. Solomon, the same question for you.
And when we think about this commission and the mayor's making appointments, it is, why are we having closed door conversations? And if you heard me at MLK, my famous line was, we need to open the kimono, right? We can't have these closed door conversations. Everything needs to be transparent, and we need to hear the exact conversations that are going on. And we need a mayor in there that's going to say no to lobbyists and no to special interests. Thank you.
On the council, I made sure that we worked hard to increase reliability across our utilities, and I'm going to fight to make sure we push back to lower costs associated with rising prices in our utilities as well. The same way that I pushed DC Water to do the Clean Rivers Project and end the flooding in Bloomingdale as Ward 5 council member, the same way that I pushed PEPCO to do a DC plug project to underground lines to increase reliability across the District of Columbia, in particular in communities that had some of the worst reliability. I'm going to make sure that we establish an affordability docket and appoint PSC commissioners as well as a Office of People's Counsel that's going to be supportive of an affordability docket. We're going to make sure we have automatic enrollment for low-income and senior citizens so that they can afford to pay their utilities. And then we're going to hold data centers accountable, since they're the ones that are primarily driving up your utility bills, because that's 60% of the cost of the increase that you all have seen.
I have a different solution. Washington, D.C. is going to be one of the leading producers of clean energy in the country. We are going to invest in technologies that already exist. That includes community solar, urban geothermal. This council has continued to push policies that are antithetical to reducing your utility costs. Kenyon and Janice have specifically voted to put more regulations on, more requirements, I should say, that actually increases your utility bills. We will become a clean energy supplier in order to be able to bring down utility bills. Ultimately, and the NRC just had a rule change this week, we will build a fourth-generation nuclear reactor on federal land to be able to bring down electricity costs, and we can do it quickly, and we can do it cleanly, and it'll immediately bring down all of your utility costs.
Wow. I'm not sure that that's going to bring down utilities costs right away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to utilize the office of the mayor. I'm going to call in the utility heads, the chairman of their boards, and the president and CEOs, and have a real discussion about utilities. And, you know, where are we going with this? And make the case to lower the rates. Make the case that, you know, it's just unaffordable, and that even in the long run, they're not going to be able to survive if they push all of us out. Then the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to call in the public service commissions and go over the law with them and ask them, what are they doing? You know, what is the role of the Public Service Commission? And I don't think any of them have been called in and held accountable. We keep talking all this rhetoric, but it's here and now. What can you do now? Who can you hold accountable now? And with the office of the mayor, we just have to utilize the power of that office and put pressure where pressure needs to be put, because right now the pressure is on the consumers every time they have to make that monthly payment.
We have an affordability crisis in the city because the city has been bought and sold, frankly. We know for a fact that the Green Team controls sizable portions of our political scene. There's a political machine in the city, and we prioritize loyalty over expertise. We know the DHCA executive got a $40,000 bonus the same year we had the highest vacancies in affordable housing units. That's unacceptable. We're having an affordability crisis because we're electing career politicians who are in the back pockets of corporations and utility providers. That is the elephant in the room. And we have to make sure that the next individual that we elect is willing to prioritize expertise over loyalty in every appointment and every decision that is made in the city. We have a management problem, we have an execution problem, and those issues are falling on the shoulders of everyday residents who are working incredibly hard to earn every single dollar. We need to clean the city up, especially when it comes to the appointments and the positions and the jobs that have been given out to the same old political class.
You know, if you live in this neighborhood, you have seen major changes in traffic patterns. I mean, for example, up here at 11th and good Lord, 8th in Pennsylvania. You used to be able to do a little cut there, right? You could go off of 8th and get onto Pennsylvania. Same thing up here at 8th and the other side, 8th and Pennsylvania. You could do a little cut. Now they've made it total sidewalk. It's all the way through. Those little white things are up all over the city. I mean, I'm not knocking. Well, I am knocking some of it because it's just confusing to me. However, it's a part of the plan, Vision Zero, right? That the city has.
Hey, Sam. Under the rules, I called out two people's names. I just want to make sure that we give them every opportunity to respond. Janice is more than welcome to respond.
Well, okay, all right. Now let me ask my question here. So the question, and we're going to start with former Councilmember Orange. We're going to start with former Councilmember Orange on this one. How will you ensure road safety for all pedestrians, automobile drivers, scooters, and bike users?
First and foremost, there has to be a balance. And you hit on Vision Zero. Now, Vision Zero is supposed to be funded by the traffic cameras. But the traffic cameras have generated in excess of $300 million. It doesn't cost that much for Vision Zero. And so what is happening to those extra dollars? That's one issue. What's going on there? Now with DDOT needs to be called in because you're absolutely right. I don't understand what's going on in this city. It's one thing to have 50 miles of bike lanes, but what about all the drawings in the street? I watched a person yesterday that's been driving up on 12th Street for years, and she didn't realize they'd put these blockers in, and she made a right and ran right into it.
I don't understand what's going on. I mean, you would think that D-Doc is on drugs. If you really look at this city, it's what is going on. So they need to be held accountable. I will call them in and make sure they're held accountable. And we're going to go to those streets because I'm going to point it out to them. Look at that. Look at that. Give me the rationale for this layout. Thank you. And I'm gonna Mr. hold them Goodweather, accountable.
It's your turn. You specifically ask it again. I want to make sure I
Okay.
answer succinctly.
How will you ensure safety for all pedestrians, automobile drivers, scooter, and bike users?
First of all, everybody's got to play by the same rules, whether it's cyclists, cars, electric vehicles, next generation mobility vehicles. Everybody's got to play by the same rules, and that means enforcement is equal for everyone as well. I want to make, and I will make DC the most walkable city in the country. I appreciate that. I look at all the rankings and that's not what we're seeing. I will tell you, it's also not necessarily the safest city to walk all around throughout our entire city. Ultimately, though, I work with engineers, urban planners, transportation experts every single day in my private life. We have this opportunity to re-envision our infrastructure, and we do it in a way where there is a place for every mode of transportation. And I am going to, as part of my Fare Free DC project, have free Metro bus and Metro rail for every DC resident, so that transportation is not a barrier to getting around our city and doing it so safely.
Safety across the District of Columbia includes safety on our roads. But the reality is, we're not going to ticket our way to Vision Zero. We have to invest in it. We have to make sure that we are planning the roads properly, recognizing that a lot of the planning that needs to occur east of the river in Wards 7 and 8, where a lot of the highways and byways are. We're not going to ticket our way to Vision Zero. We need to make sure that we have fair enforcement when it comes to traffic cameras, utilizing those funds to reinvest back into Vision Zero. We have to make sure that we look at all these traffic cameras across the District of Columbia and prioritize safety to make sure that our roads are being safer. And if it's not a camera that is based on safety, then it ought to come down. That's the reality of where we are. We have bike lanes across the city. We need to be connected and protected to make sure that people who are using them are safe wherever they ride. And we are going to make sure, when I'm mayor, we hit Vision Zero because of a deep commitment to make sure that the resources are there to do it.
So how many of us, when we go to cross the street, you wait for 4 people to run a red light, and then you go, it's safe? Because I feel like I'm defensive walking at this point, and then I blink, and there's another speed bump that goes up, and then there's 4 speed cameras, and then there's a stoplight camera, and it's wild. And then if you're biking, you think you're going to get hit by a car, and there might not be parking enforcement. And just in front of our business, we had a loading zone, and those weird white things went up in the loading zone. So now we have trucks parked on a corner. And then the best was when DDOT showed up in front of my business and started putting no parking signs and taking away parking. We said, what? They said, for the bus stop. You mean the bus stop that was removed 2 years ago? So this is why I'm running for mayor. We need a city that works for us, that knows the rhythm, and that there's community input and there's transparency. When decisions are made, everybody in the community is part of the meeting.
Remember what I told you about public courage when I first stepped up? Hear anybody say anything about resignation for the Public Service Commission? You're talking about a $22 billion budget, 30,000 employees. You're talking about a $1.3 billion RFK redevelopment deal to a billionaire. You are talking about things that require courage. I have pointed out earlier that we have a little rogue MPD, police department. Good police department, but we got a little teeny rogue group in there. Nobody was saying anything. Today, they suspended 19 and terminated a few more. You need public courage for this job. This is not about good speeches, because once you get in, and those lobbyists and those developers have their hands on you, then it's a problem. Now, I want to hear Rini Sapas tell me where is she going to get the money for this technology that she's talking about?
Okay, so I'm going to give Ms. Sampath time to respond to that if she wants to, and also the question, which is about basically public safety on the roads.
I'll start with the safety on roads piece. I think it's important to talk about why safety matters. Besides, obviously, we care about every single resident. We want everyone to live a long, happy life in DC. Safety, pedestrian walkability also contributes to economic growth. We know the more walkable a city is, storefronts get frequented and those businesses get to thrive and grow. And so a part of my vision, and this is very much on the website, so you can read about it in greater detail than just the 1 minute I have here, is to think about some of the world-class cities there are. Copenhagen, Seoul, Madrid, and some of the things that they're doing to make their cities extremely walkable. And one of the things that I discovered in my research is that their internal benchmarks for road repair is much better than what we have in DC. So if you think about DC, it takes on average, well, I should say the only internal benchmark we have is about 270 days for a pothole repair. This to me is pretty unreasonable. We have to be a lot better at service delivery. I talk about service delivery a lot during my campaign because it affects your quality of life. And so that is a concrete fix that we can make today with the DPW to make sure the potholes are repaired on time, sidewalks are repaired on time, and for much more quickly. So that's something I definitely want to see, is take inspiration from world-class cities and make sure our own internal benchmarks are great and that we're running our DC government like a high-performing organization so that we can make our streets a lot safer. And then some time for Mr. Johnson's question about budget and what we're going to do to modernize our government in general. So I mentioned to you at the start that I have come up.
She gets
Oh.
time.
Oh, that was
That was the whole.
that was the whole 90
seconds. Okay.
We'll come back.
Sorry.
Thank you.
So,
I'm
so
excited to
question
talk.
I've got here: how many of you have lived here in this neighborhood for more than 20 years? 30 years? 40 years? Yeah, we'll say Ward 6. That encompasses the neighborhood. Yeah. Okay. All right. I don't know, 50 years? Okay. I've actually lived here for 44 years in this neighborhood. And the question is really, what steps can you take to prevent the development from displacing long-term residents? We're going to start with Mr. Goodweather.
It's a myth that you can't sustain the communities that already exist and be able to grow them. Actually, by building, you create a city supply, you create a neighborhood that is more affordable for other residents. By increasing supply, more brings down the price. We are also going to completely rewrite our tax code. One of the things that the city has done that has created to make it more affordable, less affordable, excuse me, is our real estate taxes. Our assessments continue to go way up, and it is a barrier to be able to keep residents in their homes and ultimately renters, because those real estate taxes get passed down to renters as well. Biggest thing I'm going to do for affordability is rewrite our tax code. Thank you.
Councilmember McDuffie.
The way you do it is to develop those communities with those people in mind. You don't do it with them being an afterthought. It's one of the reasons why I authored the REACH Act, the Racial Equity Achieve Results Act. It embeds equity at the heart of everything the District of Columbia government does. It created the Council's Office on Racial Equity that now uses a racial equity impact assessment to measure the impact of laws on communities, especially those that include Black people and other marginalized communities. And there's a mayor's office on racial equity that needs to be ramped up and invested in. And as your next mayor, I'm going to make sure that we do that. One of the things that I was proud to negotiate with Ward 7 Councilmember Wendell Felder when it came to the RFK deal, I didn't accept what the mayor gave us at first blush. We went and renegotiated a $50 million community benefits agreement, but we also developed a community reinvestment fund that is going to take revenues from that project and invest it to prevent displacement specifically. You have to be intentional if you want to prevent displacement, and we're going to do that in that project.
This one? I got it. So as mayor, I think what does the mayor have control over? What does the mayor not have control over? And what I just don't hear a lot about the average medium income and HUD and what influence we have. And when I look at the AMI and I hear that it's 150,000, and that to me is where my brain goes with affordability. And when we look at how the AMI is calculated, and there's DC, and then there's, you know, the region around, and these suburbs around DC inflate our AMI, and that's how we get the 150,000. And I think, okay, so the mayor can't influence the AMI and the federal government, but can the mayor influence inclusionary zoning and getting the, you know, the affordable housing units in these buildings down? Right? So can we focus on the lower and the medium income families that need a place to live now? And what I challenge, and I wish we had, you know, our council member here and our former council member is here, several former council members are here. So I would like to have some more discussion on HUD and the influence that our mayor has on that. Thank you.
You heard Sam tell you I was a notary public. I'm also a retired real estate broker and investor, 20 years in the real estate field. I'm also chairman, CEO of the board of directors for the Friends of the Frank Reeve Center. I've been fighting for 10 years to keep that out of the hands of developers. They've been trying everything they can to get that. What we have to do is move away from developers to nonprofit developers. Nonprofit developers, along with our certified minority contractors, we can make things affordable. First thing I'm going to do as mayor, I'm going to get with Kathy Patterson and ask her to conduct, and she may have to hire an additional law firm to help her, 36 months of the last development that we've had in the city. Because developers, see, we've gotten a reputation. Once you get the contract, you don't have to hire DC residents, you don't have to provide affordable housing because nobody's holding them accountable. You have to have a certain amount of public courage for this job. That's why I'm the person for it. This is the time, this is now. Thank you.
Ms. Sampath.
So I'll start at the top. I think every development plan in the city needs to be paired with a race and equity plan. That's something that I will do as mayor. I will make it public. I will have a trackable dashboard so folks can see what the milestones are. So what do I mean by that exactly? So if you look at a situation like housing, one, we need to obviously build more homes. We do that by upzoning. We do that by eliminating parking minimums near transit, legalizing single stairs up to 8 floors. There's a lot of different steps you can do to build more housing, increase supply, and make sure the costs come down. We also need to make sure we lease up the existing units faster. That's the execution problem I keep talking about. 13 months on average is not acceptable. DHCA has been mismanaged fundamentally. We need to root out the existing leadership, bring in folks who actually have the expertise to run an organization, and that's how we're going to clean up the leasing problem. The third thing we're going to do is make sure we're enforcing tenant protections. Tenant protections are there to make sure that our community's most vulnerable people are not kicked out when new developments come in. So TOPA, all of the other tenant protections that exist must be championed by the mayor's office so that we make sure that folks are not displaced. Thank you.
Actually, I've had the opportunity to live in Ward 6. I lived at 909 12th Street Southeast. I lived at 1201 Potomac Avenue. I've had the opportunity to be on the Capitol Riverfront bid with Michael Stevens when all that development was taking place. I had the opportunity to work with Patty Brosner for the Capitol Hill bid and working with those men in blue. A lot of them are returning citizens, but coming through the Capitol Hill bid, they've been able to turn their lives around and pay for their own apartments and have children and what have you. I don't think that Ward 6 has much more development coming to Ward 6. I think the residents of Ward 6 is concerned about their daily lives, whether or not the government is going to be here to provide the services when you make that 311 call,
when those rats are running around, when the trash needs to be picked up, when the crime that's taking place over at the Navy Yard. Where are the foot patrols? Where are the bike patrols? I think that's the concern of Ward 6, because Ward 6 is a great neighborhood. It has it all. Eastern Market, Barracks Road, Southwest, even the wharf. It's here. Now it just needs to be protected and be vibrant and make sure that everyone can enjoy it. Okay, we got to listen to Brandon. He's the time man. All right. Okay. So we finished that round, right? Okay, I'm going to just say that one of the people here did tell me to ask about senior centers in Southwest, the fact they don't have one, and all the other quadrants do have senior centers. But here's the next question. What investments will you make to support seniors aging in place? And we're going to start with Councilmember McDuffie.
Washington, D.C. needs to be more of a life cycle city. What do I mean by that? I mean, from birth through retirement, people should be able to not just survive, but to thrive in our nation's capital. We need to address affordability across the board. In particular, every ward deserves a well-resourced senior center, and we need to address housing specifically for seniors so that they can age in place with dignity. My housing plan calls for 12,000 additional units to preserve 20,000 units of existing affordable housing and to create 1,500 units of new family-size housing so that we can have housing for families in the District of Columbia as well. And we're going to prioritize seniors in our housing projects the same way that I prioritize senior housing in the McMillan development across the street from my home. We need to do more to make sure that we're thinking across all ages in the District of Columbia, and especially for those seniors who've lived here and whose resources and tax dollars we relied upon during some of the toughest times in our city's history. You all deserve to be able to afford to live here and stay here and age with dignity.
So I grew up in a neighborhood that was privileged to have a Boys and Girls Club. And so just like the youth need community centers to go to, our seniors also need fellowship and community, and that is not happening across all 8 wards. And when I think about the childhood and the youth that do not have a place to go, and I remember during COVID, I was in Ward 7 where I got my COVID shots, and I remember sitting with a bunch of seniors, and they all got together and they took the same, van to go get their shots. And I remember talking to them saying, we need more community. And this was way before I was even thinking of running for mayor. So I've had these conversations. I've started to see senior centers pop up, but we need to make sure that everyone can stay in their homes because prices are going too up and people are leaving the city, and that has to stop. So the investment in from youth to seniors will be a priority.
Listen, right now we have really got to stick together. I mean, we really do as a community. My mother is 93 years old, so I've been in the city. The unaffordability is just crazy. So, I mean, it's just really, really unreasonable. As mayor, one of the things, and I've been thinking about this with the seniors, is I want to eliminate property taxes for seniors who are over 60 that have been in the house for 10 years that have incomes below $70,000. You got to get some relief somewhere. We got to get rid of these traffic cameras. So it's just, we got grocery prices up, gas prices up. So you can't take 4 more years. So don't even think about taking no gamble. Okay, we got the road right here. I'm just keeping it real with you. I know Solomon Hope says she was grassroots, but I'm the real grassroots. Okay, let's she borrows my title from time to time. Okay, but this is real grassroots. We really do have to stick together. We just can't. We can't afford 4 more years of missteps.
I concede my rebuttal.
Okay, thank you.
We're all very much in agreement that senior centers matter in the city. It's the best way for us to make sure our seniors have community. I do these Metro Stop tours where I go and talk to residents all the time. And when seniors come and talk to me, one topic that they do bring up is actually loneliness. And they talk about how vital community is to fight against that. And obviously, senior centers are one fabulous way that we can make that happen and bring community to every neighborhood and every ward. Now, I want to think about why these community centers aren't being built. And my commentary there is that a lot of the contracting that happens in our city is rife with kickback schemes. The CBE program, which is a program meant to make sure we diversify our contracting, 70% of the contracts have been going to 10% of the companies. This is another great example of why we all may agree as Democrats that we share similar values in what we want for our communities. It's execution that matters, it's management that matters, and the way this administration has been managing its money and has been distributing its money is incredibly inappropriate.
You know, I had the opportunity to change the entire paradigm of Ward 5. And how I was able to do that is bringing Ward 5 residents to Trinity College. Pat McGuire allowed me to use the community room, and we planned what was going to take place. I think one of the biggest things right now is that we are leaving seniors behind. We need to call the seniors in and have them tell us what is needed. I've met with seniors, and they tell me, well, you know, it's 4 of us that are handicapped on this block, but only 1 of us can get a parking spot. That's not right. And so what is the need? When we talk about we want to have all these bike lanes and what have you, how many people over 60, 65, 70 are riding bikes? And how many of you are having delivery stores come to you to drop off your groceries, but they can't park because they took away your parking? They didn't talk to you. And I think that is the problem in the city. We get some people that just have, you know, my way or the highway, but they don't think about anybody else. And, you know, we're getting older. We need to be talked to. We need to be addressed so you can tell us what is needed for you.
We need to create a city that our seniors can afford to live in. I'm committed to building 50,000 multi-generational homes in our city by 2032. These multi-generational homes, and where residents, we're seeing our seniors live now, we're going to provide incentives for them to be able to provide upgrades so that they can stay in their residence. There are opportunities for additional development. The McMillan Reservoir site. I've tried to do something at the Armed Forces retirement home for decades, and the council continues to keep us from being able to grow within the city. I mentioned that I am creating the citywide service organization, and we have a elder care branch within it. One of the most important things that we need to do is to be able to create the workforce that can serve our elder residents, and that is exactly what the elder care branch will do. And to be able to ensure that they are engaged, that our seniors are engaged, we want to be able to use them as mentors as part of our program as well.
So we're going to change the pace here just a little bit, and we'll go back to regular questions. But what we're going to do now is do raising of hands, okay? You know, if you're for this, raise your hand. If you don't, just don't raise your hand, okay? So here are some of the questions here. We're going to do a few of them. Do you support the HITE Act? Do you support the HITE Act? If you do, you raise your hand. If you
limitations on height.
Yeah, that's okay. DC. I think it was 120 feet or something.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you support the HITE Act?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Can I do my? Let me do this. I will stand in the corner. All right. Here we go. So Sam, basically what you're asking is, do we support the current height limitations? Yeah. Right. That's it. The height limitations. Okay.
No.
The next one is, do you support historic districts?
Yes.
Okay. Will you raise taxes to balance the budget?
No new taxes.
didn't think anybody would put their hand up. Yes, I'm going to raise your tax. Although you'll do it, but. Okay. What is your primary means of transportation? And I'm going to go down the line and just ask. Mr. Johnson. Okay, here's the list. Primary means of transportation: bike, scooter, car, feet, train, bus. Okay, so Mr. Johnson, what is your primary means of transportation?
Uber, Metro, and feet.
Okay. Ms. Solomon.
Feet, metro, car.
Councilmember McDuffie. Okay, Mr. Goodweather.
Feet, Metro Rail.
Car, Metro. Okay, Ms. Sampat.
Walk. I love to walk.
Walk. Okay, so those are it. Okay. Next question. Have you visited a DC public library or recreation center in the past month? Yes. Okay, let me do it this way. Have you visited a DC public library in the past month?
Yes.
Have you visited a DC recreation center in the past month?
Yes.
What, for candidates forum? Is that? I haven't been to one. So I was just wondering. Oh, okay. Okay. Will you end the cooperation between MPD and ICE? Would you consider any of your opponents for a role in your administration? Will you keep the current chief of MPD?
No response.
Finally, of these questions, have you seen a rat in the past week? Okay, all right. Well, we'll get back to the regular questions here. What steps will you take as mayor to protect the LGBT community in Washington? I'm starting with Ms. Solomon.
Hello? Okay. So I live in DuPont Circle, and 17th Street is my home, and I was raised in this wonderful city, and we have one of the largest LGBTQ communities in the world. So it's actually paramount that we continue to protect this community, and I think it's so cool that we had one of the first divisions within MPD that we had on the force. And so I got to meet, the assistant chief and everything that was leading that force, and that's what DC is all about. I remember my mom taking me down to the mall as a kid, and when the AIDS blanket was spread out, and that was very cool, and it's part of the fabric, right? You can't live in DC and not prop this community up and be a part of it yourself, no matter what your background is. Thank you. Going this way.
No, we're going to go, Mr. Johnson.
Okay.
Keep going.
Going this way.
Yeah, we're just going to keep going in the same direction.
LGBT is very important, and they're always talking about LGBT rights and whatnot. I have some other concerns. I mean, I met with LGBT. Their headquarters was in the Reeves building, as many of you know. So we've had quite a few meetings. But I also have some concerns about some abuses of some LGBT rights. We have some members on MPD that I understand have been taking some unnecessary liberties when searching young people. I've gotten some of those complaints. And I think it is important that everybody's rights are important, but I think we have to begin monitoring everyone's behavior if they're a part of the DC government. I think that's really essential. One of the things that I have mentioned to them is, why have we never not had a black president of the LGBT group? I noticed that a lot of those minorities are not often represented in those high positions.
Next, Ms. Sampat.
A couple of us were at a youth mayoral forum a couple of weeks ago at Trinity, and one thing I wanted to say very boldly in the audience to the young people was that the LGBTQ community is my community. I believe I'm the only queer or out queer mayoral candidate. And it's really important for me to share that so that others know that this is something that you should do. You should run for office. So I'll start there. But to that point, one of the topics that we covered was our youth homelessness crisis and trans youth specifically, and making sure the dignity and the rights of our young trans youth are respected, that they are properly housed in the homeless shelters that reflect their gender identity. And that's something I care deeply about. So besides the topic of visibility, which is something that obviously this position is near and dear to me, knowing that I would have the opportunity to represent a vibrant, rich, wonderful community in Washington, D.C., I also want to take very significant and material steps to make sure our trans youth are protected in the city.
I will continue to working with the LGBTQ community. With the late Jim Graham and we got together and we actually introduced legislation that was passed to make the LGBTQ office permanent so it can never be dismantled. I also was the one that got legislation passed to prevent discrimination in the workplace against pregnant women and the transgender population. I'm the only candidate, I believe, up here that has performed a gay marriage in my office at the Wilson Building when I was in office. So I will continue to work with the community, but once again, is having the community come and tell you what is needed at this point in time. So I will continue that work.
When I'm mayor, I'm creating an Office of Inclusion, and I'm going to bring the Office of the ANC up from, I'm going to transfer it from the council to the mayor's office. And there will be an LGBTQ plus partner within that Office of Inclusion. By bringing the ANC's office directly under me, it gives me a direct line of communication to be able to communicate with DC residents and vice versa. But I want to give you why I feel strongly about what I am doing. I took an oath to the Constitution once to defend everyone, to defend enemies foreign and domestic. When I am mayor, I will take another oath, and that is to protect every DC resident. And that means every DC resident without exclusion, and using every power that I have to do so. Thank you.
In my opening, I told you that I'm going to fight and deliver for all DC. That means all 700,000 of our residents across all 8 wards. The thing that makes DC special isn't the downtown office buildings, not even just the malls, the monuments, and museums. It's our people. It's our beautiful diversity. And you're going to see a mayor who respects and protects our LGBTQ community, just as I've done as a council member, where they've been represented on my staff intentionally, just as I've done on my campaign, where they're represented in our campaign. It's going to be the same thing that I do as the next mayor of the District of Columbia. I'm going to fight to make sure that we protect our beautiful diversity so that everybody understands in this city, especially our marginalized communities, including our LGBTQ plus community, that they are respected and protected as long as I'm a representative of this city.
My next question, we start with Mr. Johnson. What steps will you take to protect our immigrant neighbors?
Well, I think illegal immigration is a very important part of our community. We have been under attack from the ICE administration, from the ICE, from the current administration, and a lot of our community don't feel safe at this point. So I think providing safety for our immigration community, but I think a pathway to citizenship is very important as well. But for me, our budget and our priorities have to be for DC residents. We simply cannot afford to just put everybody up up in $250 a night hotels, while we have people on the waiting list that are really dying for affordable housing. So DC residents first. My family told me that charity begins at home. So we'll start there, and then we can begin to look out for our immigration residents.
Ms. Sampath.
This was certainly a big topic during the Latino Caucus Forum, and it was a very good conversation with the community. And so there's a few different items. One, I think we need to focus on language access in the city. I got in this race because I believe we need to fix the basics of government. Hopefully it's evident by all the statistics I've shared with you and the administrative issues I have with our city. So language access at all levels so that we as an immigrant community know what is actually available to us, what resources are available to us. Secondly, we have to end data sharing between MPD and ICE. We all pretty much shared that perspective, but I will also add to that we don't know what kind of data sharing is happening currently because there isn't transparency between those agencies. We don't know. So my first day in office, I'm going to make sure we order an audit and that audit is actually fully published to people so we know historically what that data sharing has looked like, because public safety starts with trust in our law enforcement, trust that the people who are there to serve us can take care of us. So those are just a couple of ways that we can serve our immigrant community.
I will definitely protect the immigrant population to the extent of the law, to the full extent of the law. And also, I will call upon the Attorney General and whoever the delegate is for us, and we're going to have our own summit to make sure that we're on the same page as it relates to our immigrant population. So if we're on the same page, then we can be a united force, and then we can protect everyone. So some of my policies, we haven't talked about education yet, but I'm going to make UDC tuition free for DC residents. And that means immigrants, anyone else. If you're a DC resident, you can go to the University of District of Columbia tuition free. If you're a DC resident, you deserve the protection of the Metropolitan Police Department. If you're a DC resident, you deserve to get any of the programs that we have available. If you need a voucher for rent, you can get a voucher because you're a DC resident. So there's no discrimination in terms of DC resident. You come under that category, then you get the full benefits of being a citizen of the District of Columbia.
First thing that I'm going to do is strengthen our sanctuary city protections. I spent a lot of time trying to understand this because there was a lot of rhetoric around this over the past few years, what it means. And now I've come to believe and understand that our sanctuary city protections, that is an American value. Yes, I'm going to end the collaboration between MPD and ICE, but I'm going to take it a step further too. There will be no federal interference, no all churches, schools are off limits. None of our residents will be taken and charged without a judicial warrant. And we are going to provide, I'm going to create a fund, a defense fund for our immigrant residents so that we are not just saying that we are going to be behind them, we are putting our financial resources to be able to defend them because they are DC residents, no matter how they got here, and my oath is to protect every DC resident.
I'm not just going to talk about what I'm going to do. It's going to be backed up by my years of service, making sure that we fight to protect people. My years of service as a civil rights attorney in the Obama administration, fighting to protect people's civil rights. We're going to continue the work that I've done as a council member, reforming our criminal justice laws. As the debate rages around ICE and the need to wear body cameras, I authored our city's police one body camera legislation. My record is strong when it comes to defending people's rights, and I'm going to continue that work as mayor. As mayor, I'm going to make sure that we fully resource our immigrant legal grants program so that the grants are flowing to lawyers who represent our immigrant population. We're going to make sure that the resources are in the Office of Latino Affairs is fully staffed and resourced, and we're going to work with those organizations that know the communities best to know that they have a champion in this office. We already said I'm going to end cooperation with ICE because I believe what is happening right now is eroding trust and our law enforcement.
So ending cooperation with ICE, with our MPD, is paramount. And I think another way that we can support our immigrant community is, as a small business owner, part of the backbone of the city is small businesses owned by immigrants. And when I was around, getting my petition signed and going in and talking to the small businesses, it was, I'm scared to come to work, I'm scared. So part of it, yes, is ending cooperation with ICE, but it is lifting up our community that is the backbone of this city. And throughout every ward, we have small businesses, and we are not doing enough to protect them. And as a small business owner myself, when you have to deal with costs going up, permitting that takes forever just to keep your doors open and making sure you hit payroll and that you can keep all of your employees in your small business paid on time. That's the struggle. And as mayor, I will prioritize all of those businesses through grants and making sure that our budget is balanced and we prioritize small businesses throughout this entire city.
You heard about a number of priorities. Again, you're hearing people saying that they're going to do this and do that. Right now, see, I'd like to talk about what's going on. $468 million in cuts to our DC budget. See, it's good theoretically to talk about what you're going to do.
I'm going to ask you to talk about the budget now because I think you should be starting the new round. And so I'm going to ask you this question. Okay. Okay.
Right.
Name specific measures you will take to balance the DC budget.
Thank you so much. $468 million in cuts to our current budget right now. Okay? So if you're going to do all of these other things, I'd like to know where you're going to get the money. And usually it comes from raising your taxes. And we have enough of those expenses already. You have to be genuine, sincere, and authentic with people about what you're going to do versus what you would like to do. I see my good friend Tommy Wells here. He's been on the council and been around for years. Good to see you. I see your council member, Charles Allen, is here. They always get a number of my emails. You can give him a hand right there for attending. Appreciate that. You can acknowledge your council member. He's here. He's a good guy. So just being realistic, and that's all I'm going to tell you, that's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be realistic, honest with you up front. I'm not going to blow no whole bunch of smoke. I'm not in nobody's pocket. Don't nobody run me. I'm going to do what's best for you. And I don't have all the answers. Sometimes I might need to collaborate with you, so we might need to have another meeting like this.
Ms. Sampan.
So first, we have to start with cutting and taking back the money that is owed to us. For one, we have the CFO holding $180 million hostage as a result of the decoupling decision. That money could go towards our roads, our schools, our community, our senior centers. And beyond that, you also have another example. $70 million is owed by Events DC to the city because they overcharged the city and that money was never given back to the city. Again, going back to my point of mismanagement and a lack of execution in Washington, that is a tremendous problem. So that is going to be my first focus area. Secondly, we have to grow our tax base. I consistently talk about how our Democratic Party needs to be the party of execution. We need to make sure the social safety net programs we all care about, pay equity fund, child care, support for LGBTQ youth, all of these things can only be protected when we grow that tax base. That's why I'm in opposition to measures like the business activity tax. We need to make sure our businesses can open and stay open in DC and make it easier for them to permit and sustain themselves. That's how I'll do it.
I'm the only candidate that showed up yesterday for the public hearing with the chief financial officer that was chaired by Phil Mendelson. And I challenged him. I said, you know, I jump-started economic development for the city. I jump-started school modernization for the city. I jump-started school recreation renovations for the city. I gave him a plan to jump-start our economy. First of all, that decoupling bill, they took $600 million from y'all. They took $600 million, and in that $600 million, it was going to the middle class, it was going to seniors, and it was going to businesses.
the council decided that what they wanted to do was take that $600 million, give $200 million to low-income families, and they keep $400 million, and they did it all in secret. They say democracy dies in the dark. We don't know what's going on. So right now, Congress in this city, they're in court. It's all about one day. And I don't have time to explain it to you, but I would not be going to court based on one day and with this administration.
The mayor is responsible for proposing the budget. When I am mayor, I am going to take a red pen to every line of the budget, and the programs that aren't working, they will be cut. We will reallocate those dollars to the programs that are working. We know that there's an incredible amount of bureaucracy. We need to be able to get rid of the cronyism. We need to be able to get rid of the bureaucracy that puts us in the position that we are today. Balancing our budget is looking at our budget in a holistic way. We are in a situation today because our budget is up 68% over about 6 years. Our economy is down 8.5% just this year. And to be able to fix that, we are going to completely revamp the Department of Buildings and the Department of Professional Licensing so you can open up a business quickly and inexpensively.
Overtime underspending, legacy programs, and audits. We're going to make sure that we look at overtime across agencies and cut it to make sure that agencies aren't spending more than is required to provide a service. Namely, MPD is the largest culprit. They spend way too much in overtime at MPD. We need to staff up properly, hire the officers that we need, address the morale issues, and reduce overtime spending across the government. We need to make sure that we're addressing legacy programs that are no longer giving you a return on your investment and stop funding them. We need to make sure that we look at agencies that historically don't spend their total budgets and cut their budgets at what they historically have been spending and reallocated that money. And then make sure that we look at every single audit and every single IG report that addresses recommendations on spending and implement, finally, those recommendations.
So we think of the budget, we've got our fixed costs, and then we have our safety net programs, and that's where we need an adult in the room to prioritize. Is it safety, education, affordable housing? And we can say, yes, the overtime and the morale of the police department, and we're spending $65 million on overtime over the last 6 months, and we need programs that work and are sustainable, and yes, that is what the mayor is responsible for doing, right? Balancing a budget. But then there's another piece of the puzzle, and it's grow DC, right? We are not taxing ourselves out of this, so we need to look at why companies are not coming into the district to build headquarters and to have businesses here. We look at that and we think, crime, is it parking, is it permitting? And we need to reevaluate all of that, and we need to get revenue in here so that we can grow our budget.
Okay, yeah, you talked about, that's right. I guess we'll go to Ms. Sampath for the last, get my questions in order here. Ms. Sampath, what concrete steps will you take to improve DC public safety?
I look at DC public safety as a systems issue. So there are multiple aspects of this. We obviously have enforcement, and we know that there's a cultural problem in MPD where there's $75 million in overtime being charged. We saw the latest news about the officers that are having to step down. And this is a human capital issue to me. I've been a chief of staff over an organization of over 400 people. I know what it means to hire right, retain, manage the budget, and make sure an operation is running smoothly. So MPD enforcement needs to be stabilized properly and cleaned up and run properly. So that's item number one. Then there's the restorative justice piece, which is the prevention, which is making sure we're investing in our diversion programs, which is making sure that we're not just simply expanding pretrial detention because we think that that's going to be what's right, that we have to use evidence and research-based approaches, and that's where the money that we are getting from MPD running smoothly and efficiently needs to be going towards. And so I see it as enforcement and restorative justice to make this city work better.
First and foremost, it's prevention when possible, preventing crime, enforcement when necessary, but opportunity for all. Now, at the same time, you know, this council, they created the narrative of defund the police. And in doing that, for the last 4 years, you know, we've only had 3,200 officers, but they continue to budget for 4,500 officers. So in these budgets, what happened to the money for those 1,400 FTEs? They talk about Vision Zero. Vision Zero is about 125 million, but you're generating 300 million, 350 million. Where's those dollars? Paid family leave, that tax was so high that they had to reduce the rate. It was bringing in so much money. Did the businesses get a refund? No, they didn't. What are they doing with the money? And that is the problem. I hope if you get an opportunity to watch the exchange between Chairman Mendelson and myself yesterday, and as we talked about this, and he did not deny it. And so we have to make sure that we get someone that really understands the budget, because we don't have a money problem, we have a management problem.
I will create the best trained, most empathetic police force in the country. And I do this by aggressively recruiting DC residents to participate in our police force. We talk about community policing. Police officers deserve to live in the city that they serve. They deserve to live in the community that they serve. And we do this to be able to build trust. I want police officers being mentors. I want police officers in our community help after school, being coaches. To be able to create true community policing, our police need to be able to live along with all of the rights as everybody else here in the city. Thank you.
Accountability and opportunity. We're going to make sure that people who commit crimes in the District of Columbia are held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. And we're going to do so swiftly and certainly. We're going to make sure that our Metropolitan Police Department has all the officers that it needs so that we can reduce overtime, boost morale, and address burnout. We have way too many officers who are leaving the department, not because of retirement, because they're burnt out. So we're going to make sure that we enforce the law and hold criminals accountable. But we're also going to make sure we're investing in community violence prevention in a way that has the fidelity needed to make the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement work, where it is evidence-based and data-driven. And finally, we're going to show up in communities where these young folks are coming from and usher in opportunity to make sure their schools work, to make sure their rec centers are fully resourced and staffed, and make sure that they have all the supports and services in their own neighborhood so they don't have to leave to show up in other people's communities.
So currently our police force is around 3,100, and we need to get up. We need to fully staff our police department. So I'm going to throw 3,800 officers out there. There's also this element of how do we retain our officers? So we have a morale issue, so there needs to be a paradigm shift, right? We need to have officers that are fully trained, that are not overworked. We heard the 65, 75 million overtime over the last 6 months. And then there is this element of community policing. And I know in my neighborhood growing up, we knew our officers, they knew the rhythm of the community, you could walk down the street, they knew your family. So that's the DC that I think we were aware of. And officers came out of their neighborhood and then they joined MPD, and some of them became school resource officers, and they knew the school and they knew the families. And that's what we have to get back to in the city. We need to have our police a part of the community, and we need to train up our officers and make sure that they're paid.
Remember what I told you earlier, Ernest Johnson. You have to have a certain amount of public courage. We don't have 4 years to waste. And we have two gentlemen on this panel, both have represented Ward 5 between them for 30 years. I'm not going to call their names because then they'll have opportunity to rebut. So let me do this. Let me do this, okay, Sugar? Let me do this, okay? So let me tell you what's going on in their ward right now. Between 2023 and today, there's been 274 homicides, 5,600 major crimes, 1,400 car break-ins, 460 carjackings. What I would like to know, and I'm going to call on my friend Vincent Orange, what would you do differently as mayor to prevent what's going on currently in the ward that you represented for 13 years?
Well, first and foremost, I have not been on the council since 2016, so I don't know what you're talking about for the last decade. But I can tell you that I encountered a ward that was in bad shape. But I took a 25-acre car impoundment lot, Salt Dome, turned it into the Home Depot shopping center. A lot of y'all go to it. Followed it up and created the Costco shopping center. Followed it up and reopened McKinley Tech as McKinley Technology High School. Followed it up and redid Turkey Thicket, Brentwood, and North Michigan Park Recreation Center. So right around Ward 5, where there's a good quality of life, Brooklyn, North Michigan Park. We're good.
You know, sorry.
Yes, sir. You have the floor as well. Yeah. Go ahead.
First of all, I'm not going to talk about homicides and then laugh about it. I grew up in this city in the 1980s and 1990s. I know what it's like to hold a friend and watch him bleed out of my arms. It's one of the reasons I serve today, to try to keep communities safe. I know what it's like to go to sleep with the sounds of gunshots and wake up to the scenes of yellow tape and blood-stained streets. It's why I authored the NEAR Act that ushered in a public health-based approach to crime prevention and intervention, making sure that we show up in communities with resources, connect young folks to opportunity, give them training, connect them to jobs. That's what I've been doing on the Council of the District of Columbia, and that's why I'm running to be the next mayor. I'm not going to joke about violence. I'm going to take it seriously because of what it is and do everything humanly possible to end gun violence in our city.
Okay, so that's the end of the questions here. And what do y'all think? Do they do okay? So they get a 1 minute to make a closing statement. And I think the way that rotates, I think we start with former Councilmember Orange.
Well, thank you all very much for giving me an opportunity to be here with you. I have served 13 years on the council, but look at the record. I'm the one that produced minimum wage, and I put the index in there, so the minimum wage will be $18.40 on this July 1. I was the one that created DC Emancipation Day, the only holiday in the city that has impacted the entire nation because the federal government recognizes it for tax purposes. I'm the one that got the tip wage workers 5 days of sick leave pay. I'm the one that put in place the wage theft laws. I'm the one that jump-started a lot of the economic development, then the city followed. So I have a record of achievement. I have a record that you can look at and count on. And I'm an attorney, and I'm a certified public accountant. I have my Master of Laws in Taxation from Georgetown. I know the numbers. I'm the only one that was here during the bad times, took us out of bad times, took us to where we are here today, and now we have the same dilemma coming up again. So I have the know-how, I have the institutional knowledge. I'm Vincent Orange, number 7 on the ballot, and I want to be number 1 in your heart. Vote for heavily number 7, but if I can't be number 1, I'll take number 2. Thank you.
I'm running for mayor of Washington, D.C. because I love this city, and I love all of the people in our city, and I want to see every D.C. resident thrive. I believe that our government has been a zero-sum game over the past 20 years. We cannot continue to do what we have done for the past 20 years. Just quickly tell you, a bunch of my team and I went to the DC jail yesterday. I encourage all of you to see what it's really like because it is horrendous. Almost 2% of our population, of our DC population, is incarcerated. That is unacceptable. Our economy is down 8.5%. We are losing jobs. That is unsustainable as a city. I am serving, say, I have a master's degree in finance or master's degree in MBA in finance. I know how to create a budget that can work for every DC resident. And I work off the premise that every DC resident can be lifted up. I am running because I want to serve you. Thank you.
I want to thank each of you for your participation and being here tonight. It shows how much you care about this city. And I'm running because I care about this city too. I love this city. It's the reason why I ran for public service to begin with. It's why I came to the council and served 13 years delivering on comprehensive campaign finance reform, delivering on comprehensive code of ethics reform, delivering on the Neighborhood Engagement Achieve Results Act, ushering in crime prevention and intervention laws that were transformational, working to put millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars into our Housing Production Trust Fund, and delivering economic opportunity. It's because I want to make this city more racially equitable, more socially just, and more economically inclusive. My 13 and a half years on the council, not a single day felt like an ordinary job. This work is my passion, it's my purpose. And I will serve every single day to make sure that I keep you safe, invest in education and quality schools, create jobs by investing in businesses in this city, and making sure that we deliver a government that works for all of us. Thank you.
I grew up in DC, where my childhood was sitting at the counter at People's Drug. It was taking the bus downtown to get my, first day of school outfit at Woody's. It was probably shopping in almost every small business in Northwest. It was coming over to Capitol Hill when we needed a break from Northwest and eating on like a Berto's or, going to a cafe for coffee. It's these memories of why I love living in the city so much. And as a small business owner, when you ride the waves of the economy here and you say, man, it's hard, and why does everything feel like it's working against me? But you love the city so much that you keep going. And if you want somebody that's lived every cycle, every phase of their life, that cares about this city, that's gonna hire good people to work in my cabinet, then consider hopefordc.com. My name's Hope Solomon. Thank you so much.
It's funny to me how anybody who's been on the city council for 13 years, claim to raise $1 million in one day, can even ask to be promoted to be mayor of the District of Columbia. This record is abysmal. And we cannot stand for that under any circumstance. This is not about no good talking. This is about the record that we can see. 274 homicides, 5,000 major crime units. Now, Ward 6, you don't have those particular issues, but you do have life issues, car break-ins, burglaries. You don't have as many violent crimes as Wards 5, 7, and 8, but you do have those things that impact your life. And those traumas exist throughout these wards that we have to really work on. So it's important. We don't have 4 years to waste. We really don't. We've paid these people a lot of money to be in these jobs. Let them go work in the public sector. Right now, we need to fix our community. We need to get serious about it and understand that it's us for us.
Last word, Ms. Sampan.
So my community and I got in this race about 2.5 months ago because we want DC government to fix the basics. We think that DC government is not delivering on the fundamental promises of government, the municipal promises, your roads, your rats, your trash, all the things that matter to you, but also the equity and justice issues, grocery stores in Ward 7 and 8, making sure healthcare is accessible to every resident in the city. These are the issues DC government must work on, but it was very quick that we realized that DC government does work. But it works if you have power. It works if you are an elite in the city. It works if you have connections. And what we can do is allow the next generation of leadership to come in and clean this up and make sure that we have new voices and new energy. Just today, we were endorsed by Run for Something, which is a national organization that trains and elects young people to public office so that we can carry on the torch. We revised the 311 app. We published a tax dashboard. We built a small business permitting concierge, and we're going to continue to bring innovation and creative to this office. And I want to earn your vote. Thank you so much for having us today.
Okay, and so those are the candidates, minus one who had a family emergency. For the District of Columbia Mayor's Office, I'd like to thank you all for participating. I thought it was very interesting. And I would just like to say, as a 44-year resident of this neighborhood, it's certainly good to be here and to see a lot of my neighbors. A lot has changed in 44 years in this neighborhood. Certainly, a lot has changed, but I loved it 44 years ago when I first moved here with Eastern Market, and just a number of the wonderful things that they had, and raised two kids here, and they're both very successful kids. And so, again, thank you to this neighborhood, and I was very happy to be a part of this tonight. And back to Andrew.
First of all, I want to thank all of our candidates and also the wonderful Sam Ford, who is a wonderful neighbor of ours and one of my favorite readers. The Hill Rag will be back to you Saturday and Sunday. We have forums, but these guys will be over at Transmission. If you not know where Transmission is, it's the old Rock and Roll Hotel next to Henceforth over on 8th Street. We'll start at 11 o'clock on Saturday. I promise you it won't be so hot. And I promise you won't have to stand. They actually have seats. But we'll be there from 11 to 1, and these guys will be back in front of us. And we have a whole different set of questions.
Thank you.